It is 10:01. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans mandatory minicamp is underway at St. Thomas Sports Park. Players are on the practice field as we speak. Both running back Derrick Henry and defensive tackle Jeffrey Simmons are in the building, according to a report by ESPN's Teron Davenport. Titans coaches confirming that this morning. Mike Vrabel will meet with the media at 11:45. NBA Finals, the Golden State Warriors took Game 5 at home, 104-94 over the Boston Celtics to take a 3-2 lead in the series. Andrew Wiggins led the way for Golden State, 26 points as Steph Curry scored only 16, going 0 for 9 from three-point land. First time in his playoff career that he does not make a three. Jason Tatum had 27 and a double-double for the Celtics. Game 6 will be on Thursday in Boston. And the Atlanta Braves just keep winning. Monday night marked 12 in a row after a 9-5 win over the Washington Nationals on the road. Braves are 35-27 and 5 games back of the Mets in the NL East. That's the good news. The bad news, All-Star second baseman Ozzie Albies left the game in the 5th with a fractured left foot, going again tonight against the Nationals at 6:05. College baseball, the field is set for Omaha as Stanford beat UConn and Auburn defeated Oregon State to wrap up Super Regional action. 4 out of the 8 teams in the College World Series belong to the SEC West. Games start on Friday. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right. I didn't think I was going to make it to work on time, but we did. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. Fresh off the practice fields at St. Thomas Sports Park, we're happy to have you guys in for today's show. 615-737-1045. You can jump in if you like. Mandatory minicamp underway. I can confirm that it is hot as holy hell out there, and that Derrick Henry is in attendance for today's activities. We're going to talk about it. You're going to hear from the Titans running back later on in the show. Mike Vrabel going to meet with the media, players, a collection of players afterwards. We will make an executive decision on how many of those to carry because we don't want to have them do all of our work today. But full attendance outside of a handful of players that I think experienced some injuries last week. That's going to be the talking point for a lot of people. But the biggest thing is Derrick Henry. Lucas is also here. Hello.
Hello.
You got pulled over this morning?
I did. What do you think it was for?
Oh, texting and driving.
Nope.
No? Swerving.
No. A very trivial thing. Well, you just think I'm just swerving all over the road on the way here?
No, I've been in a car with you. That's why I'm bringing up those things specifically.
No, it was a formality, so to speak.
A formality. What formality did they get you on? Did you get ticketed?
Expired license plate.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. That's of all the things to get you, to bring you specifically down, it would not have been the license plate that I had.
Yeah, no, there's several other things that you would think would be more likely to get me pulled over, but no. It is the fact that my license plate expired in August of 21.
Oh, wow. So that's like almost a full year at this point, bud.
Yeah, literally wasn't even on my radar.
Did you just not know about that at all?
Just kind of leaked out of my brain.
All right, that's a tough scene. Anyway, we not late for work as Derrick Henry, not like Lucas and I. Well, actually, I suppose you made it on time. You were here by the time I got here, like literally 2 minutes ago. And we will discuss at great length. But here's the thing, all right? Because I think I ended the show yesterday. And I had said to Lucas off air, I don't know that it's a given that Derrick shows up on Tuesday. And then I saw Teron's report from Teron Davenport of ESPN saying that both Jeffrey Simmons and Derrick Henry were in the building. And that, to me, said a couple of different things. Because it wasn't a given that Derrick would show up today. There are reasons why that would have made sense from a variety of different angles. One, let us not forget that it was, a month ago with Jeremy Fowler? That he had that free agency or contract notebook just to kind of check up on a handful of different things, everything from Lamar Jackson to Jeffrey Simmons and everything in between. And there was like a miscellaneous section where he mentioned Derrick Henry as a situation where the Titans were at least open to the possibility of, as many qualifiers as humanly possible, but at least open to the possibility of extending Derrick Henry, even though, from a financial standpoint, made no sense at all. From a Titan standpoint, made zero sense that they would extend Derrick Henry with 2 years left on his deal, no guaranteed money left, and about as good of control as you could have over the future viability of that player. Other than you like the guy. And of course, they love Derrick Henry. But outside of that, I looked at that report and was like, well, what the hell sense does that make? Who is that coming from? And then, you go through the process and you figure out that the people who are directly responsible for getting Derrick Henry paid and thus, by extension, getting themselves paid, the agencies, makes sense that they would want to soft float that out there to see if they could drum up some leverage, any leverage at all, for a client that they felt they could probably put in a better financial position. Now, we've just seen this happen. Just seen it here in Nashville with A.J. Brown, with how one party decided that they would overextend themselves as far as leverage was concerned, and it got to the point where the Titans just looked around at each other internally and said, no, it's not worth it. It's just, this isn't how we're not going to be put into this position, even as talented as the player would be, and is, obviously. This is too much. You've pushed us too far. We're just going to go ahead and break it here and move on. In Derrick's situation, the holdout idea would have made sense only during mandatory minicamp. And we haven't had a holdout during mandatory minicamp since Lawan did it before they ultimately extended his contract. In fact, I think Taylor's contract expired, if I remember the details on that correctly, and that it wasn't an extension, it was a whole new deal. But so we haven't seen one of those since Taylor, and whether Taylor needed to leverage or try and leverage his position with a mandatory minicamp holdout that ultimately saw him get paid, whether he needed to do that or not, didn't matter. He did it. He got paid. It is also worth noting that all three of these players that I have mentioned, A.J. Brown, Taylor Lewan, Derrick Henry, and frankly, a great many more on the Titans roster, are all represented by CAA. So you look around at things happening in the league. Who's reporting for mandatory minicamp and who's not? And there's plenty of different contract situations out there that have yet to be resolved. I know most notably we talked about Kyler Murray, Marlon Humphrey, the stud corner for the Ravens. Both did end up reporting. And I'm looking at Derrick's situation and saying, well, I mean, he could have drummed up public pressure by not being there today.
His representation would have better reason to want that money now than AJ's would, right?
For Derrick, yes. Oh, sure. Well, it's why even try. Like, I viewed the thing that Jeremy Fowler reported, and I'm not saying this of Jeremy Fowler. It is news. It is worth putting out there. It's going to start a conversation. But Jeremy Fowler getting that report from somebody who wanted that news out there, who wanted that information out there, was about as feeble an attempt to drum up leverage on the side of athlete representation as any I had seen, right? The Titans are open to the possibility of, what does that even mean? What, you're either down to do it or you're not down to do it. And why are we talking about this with 2 years left on his deal? Why?
They're open to the possibility of literally anything.
I mean, hell, I'm open to the possibility of damn near anything. There's not, I don't think there's anything that I wouldn't, well, that's not true. I think there are things that I wouldn't try once, like swimming. I wouldn't swim. I think that's on the list of no-go for me, just because I value my own life and I know that I can't swim and I don't want to die yet. But for Derrick's purposes, there's no leverage on his side of things. AJ's circumstance was different, right? Young, contracts getting ready to expire, wide receivers getting paid all over the place. He's clearly a top 10 talent, potentially top 5 at the height of his powers, right? And you're looking around and saying he's probably, he had, AJ did, a larger target share than damn near any wide receiver not named Devontae Adams over the course of the last 3 years since AJ's been in the league. And so with all those different things, understanding that Derrick Henry also shoulders a great deal of the offensive burden for the Tennessee Titans, that guy's going to turn 29 years old in the middle of the season. He's a running back coming off a foot injury. And again, I say to you, there is no guaranteed money left on his deal.
And he's about to get a whole bunch of carries.
Oh, yeah. No, they're going to run him in the ground. I don't feel great for Derrick about it because just in terms of football being generally bad for your body, no matter how giant of a human being you are and physically overwhelming and superhuman strength and all of those things. But I think ultimately the situation for Derrick, it just makes the most sense from his standpoint to go about the business the way that the team would prefer them to go about the business. And that's unfortunate for the purposes of Derrick Henry.
And Mark on the YouTube chat says you don't have to hold out to work on an extension.
It's true. You don't have to. And for Derrick's purposes, I think there's 2 reasons why he's here. Okay? 1, no leverage. And I think that's probably at the root of these things, because if the agency felt that they had legitimate legs to stand on as far as trying to leverage Derrick Henry, then hell yes, they would do it. They would push for that. Understandably so. It's not just a Derrick Henry payday, that they're after a substantial payday for themselves as well. And I can't fault them for that. But also, Derrick's different. And I understand that that's a cliche. I totally get it. You hear that about a lot of different players, and you may say, well, it's mandatory. It's his job to show up. No, that's not the way that the NFL works anymore. If you're still somebody who's pounding your chest and being like, these guys have contracts, they should show up to work. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of the business of football and the way that the business is done, as opposed to the NBA, Major League Baseball, basically every other sport where it's not monopoly money that you're dealing in, but where the salaries are guaranteed. It's a difference in football. Money's not guaranteed. So as far as the guarantee is concerned, I wouldn't guarantee to show up for practice if my money wasn't guaranteed. Hell no. But I think with Derrick, it's almost an anxiety that he doesn't want to let them down. He's just a different kind of persona. You can't hold Derrick and AJ up next to one another because they're not the same person. And no, Lucas and I aren't the same person. You and the person sitting next to you in the car, or whomever is, working next to you at your cubicle or wherever, you're not the same person, right?
For example, I can swim. You can't. Just one example.
I've made it longer through life than you have to this point without learning how to swim. Joke's on you.
Got a head start.
But it's just this. It is well intended, but it's also this kind of anxiety about Derrick Henry that he doesn't like to let people down. I think there's one thing that you can point to. It's the only quote unquote bad public moment that Derrick Henry has ever had. And I think it's why he shows up for every mandatory thing and will show up for every mandatory thing until the end of time. And I'll tell you what that thing is coming up next.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Welcome back on this Tuesday. Hope you're having a great day so far. We're here with you until 1 o'clock. Just a quick reminder that we are going to carry a variety of different press conferences for you today. Mike Vrabel is going to speak at 11:45. The players, since Derrick Henry is there, it is likely that he will speak. I don't think that I can technically release that information, Lucas, until 11:15 today. They pushed practice back. Apparently they got tired of our 10:45 teases, which actually works better for us because we got winners and losers of the sports weekend. And you told me we have things to give people for the winners and losers?
If you would like to go to Brooks and Dunn this Saturday at Bridgestone Arena, I would call in for winners and losers. Not now. Not now.
Not now. Not now.
In 20 minutes.
In 20 minutes is when we will do winners and losers of the sports weekend. And Andy Wittry, who writes for On3 Sports about a hilarious situation that Texas A&M was involved with, he'll join us in just about 8 minutes from now. But we were talking about Derrick Henry, and the reason that I am convinced that Derrick Henry has this anxiety about not showing up for mandatory parts of the offseason when there is reasonable expectation. You could completely understand the argument if Derrick didn't show up to mandatory minicamp. So there was this situation back in, I believe it was the spring of 2018, which would have been after 2017, because it was after Derrick's rookie season. Mike Mularkey was still the coach. And we're getting through the offseason, and Derrick, who is far from established as the Derrick Henry back then, who was just basically, obviously famous running back, Alabama, Heisman Trophy winner, but he's still playing part-time behind DeMarco Murray at that point. And we're getting through the offseason, and Derrick's not here. And this would theoretically be the year where DeMarco Murray's contract was at the time, and they ended up moving on from him after that season because he just physically fell apart. This was the opportunity for Derrick to kind of establish himself early before the season and see if he couldn't nudge DeMarco out of the way for that role. And, we go through OTAs and we go through the voluntary portion of the offseason, and Derrick Henry's still not here. And we're all looking around and we're asking Mike Mularkey, who was unlike Mike Vrabel in that he was very, very transparent as far as the players were concerned. And Mularkey just told us, I haven't talked to this guy. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know what to tell you as to why Derrick Henry is not here. Now, it turns out he had a tremendous reason. Derrick Henry was working on graduating from Alabama, but through some form of miscommunication, that did not get relayed to the Tennessee Titans at the time. And it created this whole thing. It's the only bad public moment, or, I don't even know if you want to call it a bad public moment, because I think it was just a simple misunderstanding. But it's the only time that Derrick has not been present for these kind of things. And I think it put him in a bad spot because, he was legitimately getting grilled by the time he got back. And this was early Derrick. He's what he is now, even as short as he might be with the media, he is so much more comfortable than early Derrick Henry was when we would just, surround him at his locker and shove all the cameras and microphones and lights in his face. It was a different time.
And there's probably a lot of trust built in from, was it 2020, where he got his new deal, gets the franchise tag in the spring, comes to everything through the summer, and the deal gets done before the season.
Well, there was no everything, right? There was no everything.
That's
it was
fair.
COVID.
That's true.
And because I can't remember who specifically asked him the question, asked Derrick Henry the question after he was given the contract on Zoom, but he was basically asked, would you, because it was a way below market deal. Right? Everybody looked around and said, wow, even for people like me who were bitching about don't pay the running back a second contract, no matter who the running back is, I don't care how special he is. Also me, 2 years later, loud wrong. At the time, it was substantially lower than what McCaffrey was getting and, well below the Zeke Elliott deal. And I remember him being asked, hey, would you have signed this if it wasn't COVID? And Derrick just kind of, sat back and looked at it for a second and said, it's an interesting question. I don't know. Well, either way, happy to have the deal done, and kept it moving because there was a lot of reasons why it would be difficult for Derrick Henry. Both times, the most important player for the franchise in the last, I don't know, you want to say the last at least, easily 5 years. I don't know if you want to go 10 years. But the most important player for this franchise in the last 10 years, I would argue.
Oh, yeah, you can go 10 years.
I would argue has gotten out-leveraged by his franchise twice. Twice. Because they got the deal done during COVID when Derrick had zero leverage to stand on. And now, again, in a situation where Derrick might be interested in exploring an extension, or at least his representation is, zero leverage for Derrick Henry at this time. Mark Jones immediately when I mentioned Mike Mularkey in the Zone TV chat. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch is where you can interact with the show. Mark writes, Mularkey is a traitor, except he spelled traitor wrong. He spelled Trader Joe's as opposed to traitor.
What does he trade?
I don't know. It's trade secrets, apparently. Trades Rooney Rule information, apparently. Rooney Rule violations. Mike Mularkey is a traitor, so that doesn't count as a mark on Henry when Mularkey is trashing the organization now. Well, listen, Mike, whatever Mularkey's motives are for exposing potential Rooney Rule improprieties, that's a net positive thing that Mike Mularkey is doing, even if you don't like Mike Mularkey and even if you're a diehard person associated with the Tennessee Titans. Now, I can't speak for what Mularkey is doing. But what is motivating him? Because I'm sure he's not happy about the way that he got paid. Hell, I know he's not happy about the way that he got.
Yeah, he's talked about it.
Yeah, multiple times. But ultimately, if he's exposing issues where the Titans or any team skirted the Rooney Rule, then that needs to be out there for the purposes of transparency. And so the problem gets corrected, not so people like Mark Jones can complain with just clear and utter homerism about the idea that he's a traitor of secrets, not a traitor. 615-737-1045. But we'll hear from a collection of Titans players, including Derrick and Mike Vrabel, later on in the show. In the meantime, this story from On3 Sports that the writer, the journalist who wrote it, is getting ready to join us here in just a second, Andy Wittry. It was pretty funny to see, and I don't know at what point, Lucas, during the show yesterday, where we saw it. And by the way, Andy is a NIL sports business reporter for On3 Sports. Naturally, this would be something that would be relevant as we pivot into college football stuff. This was the headline that we saw, and it's the first byline from Andy for On3, which is pretty interesting. Texas A&M officials asked the SEC to consider suspending Nick Saban, consider suspending or fining Nick Saban for the reckless allegations that he lobbed at the face of Jimbo Fisher. So I read the details on this, and honestly, it's just laugh out loud funny. So we're happy to have Andy as a part of the show today. Remember, all of our guests presented by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Go to springhillac.com. To go through the details on this, again, on3.com is where you can read the article. It's just a quote in here. There's a variety of quotes in here, and it's a good job reporting by Andy, who joins us now. Coach Saban's statement was a blatant violation of SEC bylaws regarding sportsmanship. More significantly, without citing any facts to support his statement, Coach Saban is accusing every single player in Texas A&M's recruiting class and current football team of violating NCAA NIL guidelines and Texas state law. This is a laugh out loud funny situation. Andy joins us now. How many of these interviews have you done so far, Andy? Because this headline alone is enough to make you one of the best gets in sports at this point.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. No, somewhere between 3 and 20. I've lost track at this point. Certainly a good May and June storyline the last month or so.
At Andy Wittry, Wittry, is where you can follow him on Twitter, working for on3.com. So what were the details that you found most interesting about this? Because obviously the country, the college football loving country, has been consuming Jimbo versus Nick and this TMZ SEC that we've been lobbed into for the better part of a month now. But what were the details about what Texas A&M was requesting? Did you find the most interesting, the funniest, or whatever piqued your interest in reporting this thing out?
I will say this, sneakily, the funniest thing may have been Rossberg potentially intentionally misspelling Alabama. So he said Alabama University, not University of.
That's right.
And then later correctly spelled it. So either it was a weird dig of I'm going to flip-flop University of Alabama, and intentionally do that, or he was so upset that just misspelled it on accident. So that's not what you're looking for, but I found that actually sneakily pretty funny.
No, I think that's the kind of petty though, Andy, that has made this story such a draw. And like, I know Greg Sankey wants nothing to do with this stuff, but it has gotten us to be more interested in the SEC in, going back to May now, than we should have any business being interested in college football or Nick Saban or Jimbo Fisher around spring meetings in Destin, Florida.
Is it not the most perfect May 2022 storyline? Like, there's an information vacuum. Something has to fill that void, and then boom, there's a third rail that Nick touches on accident, and then we have content for 2, 3, 4 weeks and counting. It's pretty great, isn't it?
It's absolutely exceptional, especially with sports talk radio. But as far as this is concerned, what was Texas A&M asking for them to legitimately do, and how hard did the SEC consider taking punitive action against Nick Saban for his comments?
To answer the second part first, I mean, who knows how seriously. I thought that Greg Sankey in his response in the email that I obtained, it may have just been a good managerial tactic. It's kind of how I've described it, of him saying, look, he basically said, I understand that Jimbo wants his chance to, have his day in court, if you will, and set the record straight. But he also said, hey, like, you crossed a line that Nick crossed, and even before the press conference, he and Jimbo had some sort of conversation, and he had warned Jimbo before the presser saying, hey, don't violate the same sportsmanship bylaw that Nick just did. So I don't think they were seriously going to consider suspending Nick Saban. But the email that A&M sent from their AD and then co-signed by the university president, which is kind of crazy, they said that we want a public apology as a starting point from Nick to Jimbo, to the football program, and to the school at large. And then on top of that, they said it wasn't even like an ask. They said, we think you should consider suspending and fining. So in their words, it was monetary and participation penalties. So, fine and suspension that they wanted him to consider. And of course, that wasn't going to happen. But I think, if you ask, the worst they can say is no. So they certainly, they shot their shot.
Andy Wittry of On3 Sports is here with us on 104.5 The Zone, talking about his reporting on Texas A&M requesting that the SEC fine or suspend Nick Saban. Were you able to determine at all the length of the suspension that they were asking for? Because we've been making jokes since we saw your report yesterday that they would have asked specifically for 6 weeks, no more, no less, just enough to get them through October the 9th when, of course, A&M travels to Alabama.
Yeah, I like that. No, I did not see. There was no sort of specific. I'm sure, yeah, they would take 6 weeks. They would take 6 years. They would take 6 recruiting cycles, you name it. But I think, if they got even a half, I think that's enough or would have been enough of a PR win and kind of a jab in the ribs there, if you will. So I think if they got anything of that sort, I think they would have loved it. But there was certainly no specifics and certainly no mention of October 8th in that email.
So the funny part to me, or one of the funny parts, the whole situation is laugh out loud funny as far as I'm concerned. But as a part of the email request from A&M, and you detail this in on3.com, of course, where we're reading this article and where the audience can read it as well. Quote, Coach Saban's statement is false, beneath the dignity of the SEC, and corrosive to the fabric of sportsmanship in college football as a whole, and especially within the SEC. I understand, Andy, that we have, this air of dignity that college football would like to maintain about itself. But like when I read the line beneath the dignity of the SEC, and I understand all the elements that go into big money college football, like citing dignity is something that if I was an SEC executive reading this email coming from A&M administrators, I would out loud scoff at that line in particular.
It's funny because that's the language. There was a story I reported on about a year ago regarding the Rose Bowl and some of their requests of how they wanted to be basically included and kind of grandfathered into an expanded playoff. And they used a lot of that same language. I think the one that really got people going in that story was they said they wanted to have a most favored nation status, which is very much, the Rose Bowl and Big Ten and
That's
this
right.
highfalutin, high-minded language. And rightfully, people kind of dunked on that language, that memo on Twitter and sports radio. And that's kind of what A&M did in that email, right? Of like, if you said, okay, that same language, but we'll do like a blind resume test, you'd have probably guessed, okay, this is a Big Ten school. Hey, maybe this is the Rose Bowl. subcommittee, whatever. It's like, no, actually, this is A&M. You know, they have the number 1 recruiting class. They beat Bama last year. They're spending $1 gajillion on football. So it's funny that very much is like, yeah, what are we doing? Like, corrosiveness to the dignity of blah, blah, blah. Like, okay, like we get you're upset, but let's put the thesaurus away and just get back to work.
At Andy Wittry is where you can follow him. On3.com is where you can read all of the work that all of his colleagues and Andy are doing on NIL, college football, and everything in between. Andy, thank you for the time. I know you're busy. We appreciate you taking some.
Yep. Thanks, guys. Anytime. Really appreciate it.
Andy Wittry on 3 Sports there with us on 104.5 The Zone. It just that you're already laughing. You're already laughing back there.
The best line from his report, which I encourage anybody to read if they want to get chuckle, was Greg Sankey writing back to Bjork, Texas A&M's AD, quote, while working to finalize the press release focused on Coach Saban's public comments, I was made aware of video from Coach Fisher's press conference. After reviewing statements made by Coach Fisher, he also fell short of the expectation in SEC bylaw 10.5.2, yada, yada, yada. So literally while working on the press release to reprimand Saban,
that's right.
Sankey was like, oh, no, Jimbo gets one too. Meanwhile, Texas A&M is saying, suspend him.
Do you think it doesn't include, well, no, it does say shortly after 3 p.m. Central Time, the SEC Conference office shared with Bjork and Greg Byrne, the athletic director at Alabama, a draft of the new press release. So the timeline is in there as to when they heard that Jimbo was also going scorched earth on Nick Saban.
And I love the quotes that Andy chooses to put into this article.
It's very well constructed, not just for the story itself, but for the absurdity of it. Just the general absurdity of Greg Sankey having to be like your parent on a road trip saying, all right, so help me God, I will turn this car around.
Fisher's comments about Saban included statements like, maybe somebody should have slapped him. Just leads with that.
It's the story that keeps on giving. Speaking of giving, I have some tickets for you to win. I'm going to tell you how you can do this because I'm not just going to give them to you. We're going to make you work a little bit. So we do winners and losers of the sports weekend every Tuesday at 10:45. If you give us the best winner or the best loser from the weekend for your chance for this segment coming up, we will give you 2 tickets to Brooks and Dunn this Saturday at Bridgestone Arena. 615-737-1045. Come prepared with a winner or a loser. We will give you ours, and the best one, Lucas is going to send you to see Brooks and Dunn this Saturday at Bridgestone. We'll do that next. Welcome back. Winners and losers, sports weekend. It's time to do it. We got your opportunity to win 2 tickets to Brooks and Dunn this Saturday. Bridgestone Arena. All you got to do is impress us with the best winner and the worst loser from the sports weekend. So we will do that in due time. Get to the phone lines here in just a second. 615-737-1045. I see, before we get to ours, Lucas, before we open the circus tent, I see a comment here on Zone TV. Buck could be the biggest loser, depending on how much weight you have lost this week. It's a great question, or it's a great submission. I am down. We're getting close to the 220 figure by training camp, and it helps that I'm out there before the show sweating my ass off at Titans practice because it's 100 degrees outside, and I'm just standing there taking videos on the sidelines, which we will be able to release videos, Titans practice videos, for all of you who get your rocks off by watching Derrick Henry run through the same drills you've seen him do for the past 6 years at 11:15. In the meantime, open the circuits. All right, keep it simple. Who's a winner? Who's a loser of the sports weekend? Easy as it gets. 615-737-1045, your opportunity to win tickets to Brooks and Dunn this Saturday. I'm going to change the rules for my purposes only. I have 2 losers. I have no winners from this weekend in sports. Tennessee, L. Where else are we looking around at the sports world? The Boston Celtics, L. Golden State Warriors, though, not getting it. Steph Curry not hitting a 3-point shot for the first time in 200-plus games and still them winning. A pretty impressive performance by the Warriors. But anyway, speaking of the Warriors, there was a story on TMZ Sports that made me laugh out loud this week. A Klay Thompson impersonator has been banned for life from Warriors home games. He allegedly fooled arena personnel into believing that he was the real Klay Thompson. And the arena personnel allowed the Klay Thompson impersonator access to not just the building, but the basketball court. He's on the basketball court, and this would be all well and good. It'd be a great story for you to tell your friends. And I understand that he has like a YouTube channel or something like that. But this idiot posts on his Instagram page, here's an image of me when I walked past 5 layers of security and had a 10-minute shoot around this morning on the Warriors court, alongside with a letter from the Golden State Warriors organization saying, yeah, bud, you're banned. For the rest of time, you can't come to our arena anymore. First loser of the sports weekend, the fake Klay Thompson.
My winner of the sports weekend is related to that NBA Finals Game 5 at Oracle Arena. My winner is Andrew Wiggins, because it's been a long, winding road for the former number 1 overall pick in 2014. Never quite lived up to that billing in Minnesota. Has been a solid role player for the Warriors in his time there. But in Game 5 at home, on the night where Steph Curry goes 0 for 9 for 3, the first time in his playoff career that's ever happened, on a night where Klay Thompson's in foul trouble, Wiggins provides 26 points, 13 rebounds, a career game during the biggest game of his life. According to StatMuse, only 3 Warriors players have had a 20-10 game in the finals: Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and now Andrew Wiggins. Also just seems like a good dude. It's hard not to root for Andrew Wiggins, and now I think a lot of people are wishing maybe they had jumped on Wiggins for a bet for Finals MVP. Andrew Wiggins, my winner of the weekend.
Interesting. I don't do the seems like a good dude with athletes anymore, because you know who seemed like a good dude for a long time?
Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I don't do that with athletes anymore. I don't know these guys like that.
He's Canadian, though.
Okay, so he's got a better chance of being a good dude. You're right. He has a higher percentage chance, just by nature of where he's from, of being a decent human being. But yeah, I don't do that with athletes anymore. Loser number 2 of the sports weekend, Jennifer Lopez. Now, you may be saying, what the hell is Jennifer Lopez doing around the sports weekend? Well, let me tell you. She has put out a new documentary entitled Halftime on Netflix, which chronicles Lopez's preparations for the halftime performance at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami of the Super Bowl. Now, if you'll recall, that was a great one. It got a lot of FCC complaints because apparently there's a lot of repressed people who don't like to see Latin women out there shaking it during the Super Bowl halftime show. A lot of complaints about children whose eyes had to be shielded. But anyway, the loser is Jennifer Lopez, because Jennifer Lopez in this documentary is detailing that she was not happy to be sharing the stage with Shakira during the Super Bowl Live halftime show. Not any sort of rift with Shakira. She just doesn't like the idea that she has to physically be on the same stage as another artist because she's Jennifer Lopez, and her star power is such that she should not have to share the stage with anybody. Lucas, how many different performers would you say were out on the stage at one time during this year's Super Bowl?
Oh, my goodness.
How many would you say?
Oh, 9?
So, who are we doing? Mary J. Blige, Snoop Dogg,
Kendrick,
Puffy 50 Cent.
Yes.
Not Puffy and 50 Cent,
Yes.
but physically Puffy 50 Cent hanging from a rafter. Eminem. I mean, you go down the list of massive international superstar rap and hip-hop artists that shared the stage together. But no, J-Lo wants all 14 minutes for herself. Loser of the sports weekend.
My loser of the weekend, unfortunately, was a very easy decision this time around because of the 8 teams that are headed to Omaha for the College World Series. 4 of them are from the SEC.
That's right.
None of them are Tennessee. Something that would have been unfathomable to say at any point throughout the course of this regular season. Was a fun ride, a historic season, an SEC championship mixed in, something this program hasn't done in a long time. But Tennessee baseball is the loser of the weekend after failing to make the College World Series after arguably the best regular season in college baseball history.
I'm sure quite a few people who are waiting on the phone lines for the opportunity to win Brooks and Dunn tickets this Saturday at Bridgestone Arena would also nominate the University of Tennessee Volunteers. All right, let's give it a shot. David in Nashville is up first. David, who you got?
My winner's going to be the San Francisco Giants for the sweep of the Dodgers this weekend with a shutout on Game 3. And then my loser is the Tennessee fans. I got 2 buddies who got tickets to Omaha and already got the plane ticket.
No.
And they're still going to go, but I guess I'm going to have to give them some Auburn. Give them a couple Auburn hats.
Put them in some Arkansas gear. Thank you for the call, David. That's a good one. 615-737-1045. There's got to be some horror stories out there of people who already purchased tickets to Omaha for that were Tennessee fans, made their travel arrangements, and then Notre Dame 7-3. Tough scene. Let's try Jess, who calls us from Cookeville. What you got, Jess?
All right, my winner is going to be Notre Dame for giving your losers, the Tennessee Vols, 2 holy bird fingers back at you and taking the win for the big dub.
Holy righteous middle fingers. It's something I never thought I'd see, Jess, but yes, sure enough. That's a good one. 615-737-1045. Just had a winner, and that's fine. You can either have a winner or a loser. You don't have to have both as far as this is concerned for the opportunity to win Brooks and Dunn tickets. Let's go to Jim in Nashville up next. Hello, Jim.
Hey, howdy. What's up, y'all?
What you got for us?
My winner's the Braves, 12 in a row. Man, they're turning their season around.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
They have taken great strides here in the last couple of weeks. Thanks for the call, Jim. The Braves, although wasn't there an injury update, Lucas? I don't know if you saw this yesterday with Ozzie Albies.
Yeah, Ozzie Albies fractured his left foot during an at-bat last night. It's a big blow.
Oh, that's not ideal. But yes, the winners of 12 straight, the Atlanta Braves, at this point, continuing to try and turn their season around. Now, Will Bowling has been on this for quite some time. He has maintained that where the Braves were at the start of the season, kind of languishing, they would not be there for long because there was a similar pattern before going on to win the World Series. But no telling whether this team is capable of doing that just yet. Keaton is in Clarksville, up next with the winner or loser of the sports weekend. Hello, Keaton.
Good morning.
Good morning to you.
So I was going to say loser Tennessee baseball seems to be a popular trend this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Birds and bats, they flip them both, but they're not in the tournament anymore, so they're flipping them from home. But I would also say the Browns because, now they say they're not going to back out of the Deshaun Watson trade, but they've either got that and got to deal with a quarterback with all the problems that Deshaun has, or they've got to go back to Baker, who they've given the middle finger to already. So losers are the Browns for a long time and right now.
Perpetually. Thank you for the call, Keaton.
For a long time and right now.
Forever. And also today. Did you see that there's reportedly another civil suit that's coming down on the Deshaun Watson situation?
Busby told us there probably would be.
Well, let me give you specific details on this. In fact, we can probably get into that coming up next. Unfortunately, we've run out of time for winners and losers of the sports weekend. If you actually let's get one more in. All right, let's get Karen in Spring Hill. What you got for us, Karen?
Hey guys.
How are you?
The winner of the weekend for me was the squirrel on the pitch at the NFC game Saturday night.
Yes. They made it into a whole bit. They got a video bit now with a puppet squirrel that they're doing promotional items for Nashville SC. It's well done.
Oh, honey, he went up in between our legs in section 104. It was the funniest thing. And the loser, of course, is Tennessee baseball. War Eagle, go Auburn.
Uh-oh. Look at Karen out here.
Is that Dawn Davenport?
No.
Nah, she wouldn't have been at the soccer game.
No, and Dawn would, Dawn would never go to a soccer game. That's right. Thank you for the call, Karen. Oh, goodness. Winners and losers of the sports weekend. Do you want to decide now, or do you want to tease it through the break, and then we can give people more details on the Deshaun Watson stuff?
Let's go ahead and knock it out. What do you think? My vote is for Keaton for the way he phrased his Browns loser of the weekend.
I would agree. I would agree that Keaton had a good one, but I also think that David in Nashville, who nominated the loser of the sports weekend, his Tennessee fans that have already booked fare to Omaha and are still going. I don't know if they're going to wear their Tennessee gear. I don't know if they're going to be decked out in just like who's the actor that had just the plain NFL hat on?
Rob Lowe.
Just find an SEC hat like Rob Lowe did at the Super Bowl.
I can guarantee you they'll be wearing Tennessee gear.
I would. So my vote would be for David in Nashville.
All right, let's give it to David in Nashville.
David in Nashville it is. Congratulations, David. You are going to see Brooks and Dunn Saturday at Bridgestone Arena. Lucas will contact you shortly. New information coming out about Deshaun Watson, and promise you it isn't good.
It is 11:03. Good morning. I'm Lucas Panzica. Titans mandatory minicamp happening right now at St. Thomas Sports Park. Players on the practice field as we speak. In attendance looks pretty good. Derrick Henry is in the building, as well as Jeffrey Simmons and the rest of the Titans front four. Mike Vrabel will meet with the media at 11:45. We'll hear from select Titans players at noon. NBA Finals, the Golden State Warriors took Game 5 at home, 104-94 over the Boston Celtics. They take a 3-2 lead in the series. How about Andrew Wiggins, 26 points and 13 rebounds, as Steph Curry went 0 for 9 from three, first time that's happened in his playoff career. Game 6 will be on Thursday in Boston as the Celtics fight to stay alive and force a Game 7. The Atlanta Braves just keep winning. Monday night was their 12th in a row, a 9-5 win over the Nationals. That's the good news. The bad news, All-Star second baseman Ozzie Albies left the game in the 5th with a fractured left foot. Braves will go again tonight against the Nationals at 6:05. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right. Hour number 2, off and rolling. Welcome in on this Tuesday. Been hanging out with us so far. We're happy to have you. If you're just now joining us, happy to have you as well. 615-737-1045. We're giving all kinds of stuff away today. Already gave away a couple of tickets to Brooks and Dunn. I got Braves tickets. Winners of 12 straight. What a time to have that for you as we celebrate Father's Day all week long. Happy to do so. Lucas is back there making it happen. Hear from Mike Vrabel and a handful of Titans players after they come off to the practice field. I think they should be out there, Lucas, for about 10 more minutes before I can actually disclose who I saw and who I didn't see. Attendance report.
Well, we know who's there.
Well, sure, you do know who's there, but you don't know who practiced today. How about that for a carrot? Because one does not equal the other. And we'll leave it at that. Also, something that I think people are going to start pulling their hair out about later on, but I can't tell you any of that until 10 minutes from now. Now, what we did discuss, though, is a report coming out yesterday from KPRC2 in Houston. The bad news is still not. Now, I hated the way that I saw the article itself on Pro Football Talk, and I hated the way that Mike Florio opened with it because, did you see this, Lucas?
I did not.
This is the opening line of the article. Well, the headline is report, 2 more lawsuits to be filed against Deshaun Watson. And this is what Florio says. The bad news is still not subsiding for Deshaun Watson. I don't care that Deshaun Watson is experiencing bad news. I don't think that's the proper way to frame the conversation. I think that's just slightly missing the mark as far as the tone that we need to have around this particular situation. Not, good or bad news for one side or the other. This is an ongoing legal proceeding that continues to pile up on the neck of the quarterback who the Browns paid $230 million. So if you want to talk about bad news for anybody, bad news for the Browns, and all of it deserved, by the way, if it blows up in their face, because I still can't get over that deal. So, according to KPRC in Houston, 2 more lawsuits will be filed against the Browns quarterback. That would bring the total up to 26 after these next 2 reportedly come down the line. He's currently up against 24 lawsuits. There are 2 new ones in the last 2 months, resulting from the HBO Real Sports sit down with some of the accusers of Deshaun Watson. A few more women felt empowered to come out and file lawsuits, civil suits unto themselves. 2 more have emerged as of yesterday afternoon, alleging sexual misconduct during massage therapy sessions. Now, what the report doesn't say, it doesn't say whether the 2 new plaintiffs will be represented by Tony Busby, who currently represents all 24 of the women who have sued Watson. If the report does end up being true, that extra lawsuit, or the extra lawsuits, plural, underscores the fact at this point that new information in a situation like this can come out at any time. And that the Browns feeling comfortable. It's not, here's what the hang up for me on Cleveland is, okay? Because we've been through this so much. It's a year and a half, over a year and a half at this point with the Watson stuff. And it's not the $230 million figure that irks me about the circumstance. Because, as I've said to you many times, and if you haven't heard me say it before, I'll say it to you again now. I am not making any judgments on Deshaun Watson or the women who are accusing him until I have something that the legal system has produced to show me guilt or innocence one way or the other. I'm not here to point fingers at Deshaun and say, how dare you, you disgusting creature, although these things are starting to make it look like a sexual predatory situation. And nor am I here to look at the women who are accusing him and say, oh, they're just out for the cash grab, as many people have done. Both things are incorrect at this point, although the Watson stuff, the evidence is mounting daily. I prefer to let the legal process play out. But what irks me about the Brown situation, it wasn't $230 million. The number wasn't the thing that got me. It's the fact that the money's guaranteed. All of it. Guaranteed $230 million. In a situation where new information can come up at any time in a circumstance like this. That makes it more difficult for the NFL to make a decision one way or the other on Watson. Because, say they suspended him last week after new information came out, after the New York Times report, right? Say they did it. Well, what do they do when they've suspended him already, when they've made their judgment and then two more suits pop up? It's why they've been in a holding pattern. So it prolongs them from making a final decision on potential suspension. It makes paid leave until all cases are filed and resolved. Arguably more important than ever, the commissioner's exempt list. And when the commissioner took paid leave off the table for Deshaun Watson earlier this year, I believe that was at the end of March, recent developments would indicate that they need to desperately revisit that decision. This guy cannot be permitted, as long as new information continues to come out, this guy cannot be permitted on a field of play. He cannot. Whether he is innocent, whether a court of law finds him guilty, he cannot be on the field while these things are hanging over his head if the NFL supports the causes that it claims to support. You can either be a hypocrite in this instance and say, no, star power, quarterback, more touchdowns, put him out there. Have him on red zone. I don't care. Fantasy football, all of the things. And you can tell the female audience that you have worked to grow, despite what a lot of your sport lends itself to. You can tell the female football fans that you've worked to bring more into the NFL. You can basically tell them to kick rocks if this guy takes a snap until such time as this is decided. And frankly, I was surprised that Roger Goodell got out there in March and said that paid leave was off the table for Deshaun Watson at the time that he did. Whatever the circumstances are, a decision needs to be made. And as far as this is concerned, I think people need to be more realistic about the circumstances for Deshaun Watson at this time. 615-737-1045 is how you can react to any of the new information coming out about Deshaun Watson. Coming up next, new information on a circumstance for the Miami Dolphins, one that by extension impacts the Tennessee Titans and any team that was exploring the possibility of one quarterback this summer. That's next.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Go to springhillac.com.
Okay. So, Titans officially done with day one of mandatory minicamp. Practice has concluded. The Derrick Henry videos have started to flow. Now, I will tell you that Jeffrey Simmons is here, but he did not practice today. He was on a bike. So, Lucas, when you told me, or when you said that we know who's here, you know who's here. But you don't know who is able to physically go at this point in time. Now, he was on a bike, according to, I didn't see this myself. I'm seeing some of the tweets that are coming out now. I had to leave, obviously, to make the radio show on time. But I'm looking at Kaharski's tweet right now. Shane Bowen spoke as if he expected Jeffrey Simmons' participation. I can agree with that. I was there for Shane Bowen's press conference. In fact, Lucas, can we have the clip that I tweeted earlier of Shane Bowen talking about Jeffrey Simmons playing at a lighter weight this year? That'd be great. Just let me know when you got it. So Paul is saying that Simmons was on a bike for a time, open for speculation as to whether it's contract related. Mike Vrabel, I'm sure, is going to be asked about that. Can't wait for that. Also, Treylon Burks wasn't out there. What do I do? I mean, what do we do about the Treylon Burks thing here, bud? What do you, as far as the radio show is concerned, all right, you're the executive producer of the Buck Reising Show, okay? Until such time as Robert comes back and takes your job. What do we do about the Treylon Burks thing? Because I'm out here saying, it's June. I don't know. And yet he's not there again today for everybody to see. I don't know if we're just being trolled. I don't know, but I don't know how to process this. Like, at what point do I start to tell people, yeah, it's kind of a thing. It's a bit of a deal at this point.
Yeah, him having asthma doesn't have to be a thing. I mean, we had Ian Hartitz yesterday, and he went through the list of NFL Hall of Famers that have played through asthma. Plenty of athletes have asthma. Him not being there is a thing. I mean, the more he is absent at practice, the more that I think we should have the right to talk about it, asthma or not.
But and you're right. You are correct, because Kenneth Krall on YouTube, and if you want to react to anything, 615-737-1045, we can get into some of the details of what I saw, and you'll hear from Shane Bowen momentarily. But Kenneth Krall on YouTube asks, Treylon Burks isn't at practice again? How many practices does he need to miss before Titans fans can actually worry? I don't know that it's a set number, right? Like, I don't like that it's consecutive. I mean, we haven't been out on the field. When was the last time we were out on the field? Tuesday? A week ago? So he wasn't out there last Tuesday. Wasn't out there this Tuesday. It's back-to-back weeks, understanding that we have limited access at this time. Tomorrow, we will be out on the practice field again for your reference. But at this point, I mean, I think you can start to be legitimately, you can be legitimately concerned about Treylon Burks. I think that's fair. I really do. I don't want to be premature in that for obvious reasons. Like, you guys understand the balance that we're trying to have here. I don't want to swing one way or the other with hot takes of all kinds and tell you what this means that Treylon Burks has missed back-to-back practices. And Buckethead tweets us right now saying everyone was cool about Julio Jones missing, but the rookie makes folks get up in arms. You can't do a one-to-one comparison that way.
Yeah, it's very different. Very different.
Julio did show up. I mean, I think it was the day after they traded for him, or right around there. Like, he straight up drove to Nashville from Atlanta to participate in voluntary stuff at that time. Yep. And we were all like, oh, there's no reason for him to do that at all, other than it's a good morale boost. And he did it. Julio obviously it continued to erode throughout the course of the season, because at that point you realize, oh, this guy's body, he can't do it at 33 years old on a regular basis at any point. This is a guy he's just come out of college, and we're talking about this many missed practices. Now, what I will say to you is that Nate Davis But that was training camp when they told us like Nate had some kind of like heat exhaustion thing, and then like we just straight up didn't see Nate Davis for the remainder of Titans camp. And then by week 4 he was starting. So this is stuff that I struggle with. Just me personally. If you have opinions on it, fine. You're entitled to them. But how does it make you feel to know that Treylon Burks, again, not available to practice today? Chris is in Nashville up first. Hello, Chris.
Hey, Buck.
How are you?
I'm all right. Hey, quick question. Do we have the hangover from the offensive guard? I don't remember his name that we lost out in a couple years back. And if we don't have that circumstance, if that never happens, are we this concerned now?
Who?
Is this strictly
Are you talking about Isaiah Wilson?
Yes, sir.
So you're thinking that and correct me if I'm wrong here, Chris, you're saying that if the Isaiah Wilson circumstance never happens, are we this critical of first-round picks under John Robinson? Is that what you're alluding to?
Well, not John Robinson, just not a camp. I mean, obviously, I don't want to pin it on John Robinson because he's not the one missing camp or picking guys that are missing camp. It's just an unfortunate circumstance. But if Isaiah Wilson never happens, are we this up in arms because is he doing other stuff in the back end that we don't know of learning the playbook or other stuff? And this is just a question that I have.
No, it's a completely reasonable question, and thank you for the call, Chris. 615-737-1045. This is why I have hesitancy with it to come out strongly and say Treylon Burks is a massive disappointment so far through the offseason, although I do consider him to be disappointing thus far. I think that's a fair assessment, right? I'm not out of bounds by saying, yeah, if he can't participate the way that everybody else can clearly participate through this point, or at least the rest of his rookie class, am I not entitled, are Titans fans not entitled to feel a degree of disappointment? Again, asthma can be managed. Many NFL players before and after Treylon Burks will have to manage asthma. But, to say if Isaiah Wilson never happens, do we get this bent out of shape about it? I maintain yes. One, because you can't remove the Isaiah Wilson thing from the circumstance. It happened, right? But also, you remember, just going back to Marcus Mariota, how long it took him to sign his rookie deal? That was an ongoing, arduous, just never-ending process, it felt like, for them to agree to terms. And I can't remember what specifically was the hang-up there. I know it was covered at great length. But this is Corey Davis, and I think he came in with it was either a foot or a hamstring situation that continued to cause him to miss time. Rashawn, after him, had hamstring situations that caused him to miss a little bit of time early in his NFL career. You go then to, who was the first-round pick after Rashawn? Would it have been Jeffrey? Jeffrey with the ACL? But, that not every first-round pick is created equal to another. I think, but it's just the fact that he's not out there. Like, why are the exceptions necessary already? And if it is the asthma, fine. Just, I hope that Mike is comfortable enough, Mike Vrabel, I hope that Mike is comfortable to be transparent as to that situation. And I can all but guarantee that Mike is not going to want to talk today about Treylon Burks and why he's not out there. How much you want to bet, Lucas? What do you think the betting odds would be of Mike Vrabel saying anything but he was unavailable today?
If it's not that, let's just talk about the guys that are here.
Yeah, let's talk about the guys that were here. I'm here to coach the players who are available. Treylon was unavailable today. Mike Vrabel is going to speak in 15 minutes. I can all but guarantee that that's going to be the response of Treylon Burks. And, what it creates after the fact, what issues it causes you now, what kind of chest tightness or whatever part of your body gets tight every time that you don't see Treylon Burks, or you see that Treylon Burks didn't participate in practice today. It's a real thing. And here's the thing that I don't want to discount, because TS Sparks 615 tweets us this. If his asthma is on the serious side, the last thing that you want is him out here in this weather specifically. It is untenable. the weather today. They are going to have to be mindful of players who, whatever circumstances they may be dealing with. This is legitimately 100 degrees for basically the next week and a half. But again, I say to you, it's going to be hot in Middle Tennessee until when? October, right? Especially at Nissan Stadium. There's no protection from the elements out there. The Titans and the Colts, I think it was the Eddie George, Steve McNair retirement when the field caught on fire, that it was the hottest recorded game in Nissan Stadium history. I don't want to, it's a reasonable excuse if it's just a person, right? If you have serious asthma and you can't be out in this heat, then fine. Find ways, to manage that. But this is a professional athlete who will be required to play in the elements in some form or fashion. This is all speculation at this point. We have no idea what this is. But what was the biggest complaint about AJ? I go back to the AJ thing. Biggest complaint about AJ Brown, Lucas, was what?
Well, either drops or availability.
Availability.
Take your pick.
I pick availability 10 times out of 10.
Yeah.
Your best ability in the NFL is availability. This is a sport, and team sports are like this across the board, but no more so than football, where your availability it determines how much the coaches and the players who are out there with you trust you. It's about the reps with the quarterback that he's not getting that are critical to the Titans trying to find a way to sustain or improve the offensive deficiencies that they clearly and obviously had last year. That chemistry is critical. There is so much of this that gets tied up in the idea that Treylon Burks needs to have a way to practice in some form or fashion. Because if Julio, going back to Buckethead's tweet, right? He said, people don't bat an eye at Julio, but Treylon Burks they're bent out of shape about. I would contend that the reason it took so long for Julio and Tannehill to figure it out, they were practicing together. There's a couple different reasons. Julio was unavailable for a period of time during training camp. He came down hard on his lower back, it looked like, on an end zone drill, red zone drill. And they wrapped him in bubble wrap for basically the rest of training camp, and we didn't see him until, we didn't see him just on the sidelines, basically, at various preseason games. When Julio came back, Tannehill went on the COVID list, and they missed those additional reps together. When Tannehill came off the COVID list, Julio again started to miss time because the hamstrings became an issue, and the practice reps were not there. I don't want to make it an indictment of a dude who just started his NFL career. But if this is what it's going to look like, and there's no guarantee that it will, but it has thus far. If this is what it's going to look like, yeah, it's a legitimate reason to be concerned about Treylon Burks. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in on the conversation. Here's what I'll say. Kyle Phillips, you don't hear anything about this guy other than that he's good at what he does. He's a fifth-round pick out of UCLA. He doesn't have the athletic pedigree of Treylon Burks. He also played at a Power 5 school. He's got a lot of potential, certainly, but I know that no situation is created equal. But the fact that we don't bring up Kyle Phillips and he's going to factor in vastly more for the Titans in the early going than the first-round pick will, I think you can be upset about that while still understanding that they don't play a game until September and that there's plenty of time to continue to try and work through these things. There will be questions about the scouting department, as there were questions about the athletic training staff last year. I'm not saying that the scouting department and John Robinson specifically are above question or are beyond questioning, but I do think that you have to almost not implicitly trust them, but you do have to give them the benefit of the doubt. They continue to win. You haven't had a losing season since John Robinson's first year here. They've made the playoffs on a consistent basis. They've made the playoffs in the last 3 years straight. This is not so they put together that roster and found ways to patch it together while not having all of their players available and still found the 1 seed in the AFC. So I don't think to try and pin it on one entity does the process a disservice. But again, I'm not saying that should alleviate your concerns because there's clearly something wrong here. Jason in Nashville is up next. Hello, Jason.
Hey, Hey, how's it going? Thanks for taking my call. Love the show.
Thank you.
I'm probably not going to be positive Polly today. It's more of a negative Nancy in some people's eyes. And I know, like you said, Buck, you can't do nothing about a player that's gone, and it does get tiresome talking about it. But the more that this receiver that they got having an asthma problem doesn't work out, doesn't it confirm how stupid they look for getting rid of AJ? Yes, he had a couple of injuries that set him back, but he was on the pace to be one of the greatest receivers the Titans had. His numbers would have caught up with, Mason and all them. So I'm just wondering what your thoughts is on that, because when you got a good woman, sometimes you have maybe a few hiccups in the relationship, but that doesn't mean you ditch her off to go get another woman that's going to treat you even worse. So that's just my perspective.
That's good perspective. That sounds like somebody with some life experience.
I guess AJ is the good woman in this case.
Well, he didn't want to stay, right?
Yeah, the situations can be separate from each other.
Because, here I am, still sitting here on June the 14th. We're 2 months removed, little less than 2 months removed from the Titans trading A.J. Brown, okay? And I sit here and I think, yeah, they're not a better football team without A.J. Bar none, full stop. Until such time as I see that they are, they can't possibly be. They're not as talented a football team as they were with one of the most talented wide receivers that has played for the franchise. Not the best, but one of the most talented. And there is no disputing that. Does it make them look foolish for trading away A.J. Brown? I'm sure to many people, like Jason, it does. But I would say to you, Jason, that there has not been a full recounting, and there probably won't be because they don't discuss contract details publicly. But there's not been a full recounting of how that situation went down, other than AJ speaking to Teron Davenport in that ESPN article, right, where AJ said that they lowballed him, basically. And, we soon there found after that AJ had asked for $80 million guaranteed and almost $30 million on his next $30 million a year on his next contract. And then when those demands were not met, because of course those demands were not met, it was an outrageous sum of money for a team that runs the football on first and second down more than any other team in the sport. Of course you're not going to pay a wide receiver that money when that's just that to distribute your wealth that way, when it's an asset that, yes, it matters, but they don't use it that much. And he's going to be a problem, and he doesn't want to be here. And he asked for a trade. At what point are you comfortable letting a situation like that fester just because you're trafficking in what AJ could be? Or do you side with the organization that I think has done well over the last 6 years under John, heading into 7, the last 4 years under Mike, heading into 5? They have done well to earn the benefit of the doubt. Again, they are not beyond reproach. But I think to discount the idea that AJ asked for the trade and then came back, his representation came back with absolutely unreasonable contract demands, I don't know at what point you're willing to let go. For them, they said, all right, draft night, 18 hours is what John told us before. 18 hours before the trade is basically when they had a sense that they might have to trade AJ. It's that close. Ian in Cookeville is next. Hello, Ian.
Howdy.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Well, thank you.
Well, I just want to say, I think we should just move on from A.J. Brown. He's gone. There's nothing we can do about it. But with Traylon Burks, people freaking out about his asthma, I marched with Music City Drum and Bugle Corps out of Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of guys there, it's all related to a football game. You have to memorize your route. You have to memorize all the things that you have to play. So for 12 straight minutes, you are running around, memorizing all this stuff, blowing air out of your, lungs.
Mm-hmm.
And there are people with asthma who do that. And Traylon, he's an athlete. Even though he's got asthma, you're asking him to commit, 6 minutes a drive? He can do that, and he gets breaks in between. So I feel like the whole asthma thing is being blown out of proportion, and the scouting team knew about it. They said they knew about it.
Yeah. No,
I think it's being blown out of proportion.
It's reasonable, Ian. But again, why is he not out there? I'm not blowing it out of proportion because I'm saying I'm going out there every day, every damn day now. I go out there. Is Traylon Burks here? No? Okay. I gotta talk about it. And that's the biggest problem here. Mike Vrabel, he's gonna speak to the media coming up next. He's gonna be asked about this. You can hear it if you stick right here on 104.5 The Zone. Mike Vrabel's currently meeting with the media. He was asked about Treylon Burks and Jeffrey Simmons. You know what he said? Unavailable. We go live to St. Thomas Sports Park right now.
You guys have kicked his ass so much, kicked the Colts' ass, that he called a meeting after the second loss, and it's still obviously bothering him if he's still talking about it. How much do you guys focus on them if Indianapolis is so focused on you?
I mean, it's every game in your division is critical. You play them twice. We play them once at their place. Same with the Jaguars and the Texans. It's we know how critical those division games are that, go a long way to determining not only the division championship, but, playoff spots. So every division game is critical.
And what did you think of their addition to Matt Ryan?
I mean, they've had a new quarterback every year. We'll get ready for Matt when it's time to play the Colts, So they've had, a couple different quarterbacks in there each and every year.
You guys spoke last year kind of thematically about a broader conceptual understanding defensively, one position understanding the rest of the defense better. How did you do at that? How are you at that now? And what kind of tangible difference have you seen from it?
I thought it was better. Obviously it was some of the stuff that we did last year was better. I think some of the stuff that we worked on in the offseason, as much as we worked on ball disruption, I think we were second and third in the league and PBUs, by secondary and linebacker players. So it's good to see the stuff that we work on. And then, a lot of stuff that we have to continue to work on, but I think that there was, a step in the right direction.
You go slowly with that, with the new guys?
As far as
the
new
like
guys.
McCready, you're asking McCready to learn linebacker and line stuff?
No, it's hard to do that. It's hard. You have to focus in. It's like a receiver. It's hard to focus in on the entire concept when they're trying to figure out where to line up, what their route is. I would say that that's probably consistent with defensive backs as well. Am I playing inside? Am I playing outside? I know what my job is. And once they can master that, I think it's fair to ask them to continue to understand and the entire defense.
Mike, how do you feel about the collection of talent at the wide receiver position right now?
I think they're working hard. I think that they compete, they're good size. I think the guys are taking advantage of their opportunity. I think Nick probably looks better than he did at this point in time. Robert's working his tail off to get back. He's doing everything that we ask him to do. Cody's showing up. We got some guys in the slot. So I think they're all kind of pushing each other. And as you can see, take advantage. Josh took advantage of his opportunities today and to go in there and be evaluated and scored some touchdowns in 7-on-7.
Are you able to, because I know urgency was something with Fitzpatrick in the past. Are you, with what you're seeing out here, are you able to measure whether or not he's playing with more of a sense of urgency?
Yeah, yes. Yeah. I think Dez has had a good offseason. I think he really has, and I think he understands what the expectations is going to be for here and in training camp and what's going to be required of all those guys to find a role and to help them and give them a chance to make this team. Hey, guys, thank you. Stay high.
That's Mike Vrabel meeting with the media. Again, of Treylon Burks and Jeffrey Simmons, Mike simply had to say unavailable. That's how we're going to deal with players that don't practice moving forward until there is required an injury report. So a lot of different things to kind of take from that. And, understandably, Mike's going to protect the players the way that he feels necessary to protect the players. Now, Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill are both going to speak to the media, and Harold Landry as well. We're certainly going to hear from Tannehill and Henry while we're on the air today. Deshaun Watson is currently meeting with the Cleveland Browns media. It's being carried live on SportsCenter. As a matter of fact, it's the first time that he's talked since March the 25th. And with the additional 24 civil lawsuits that he is currently facing, in addition to the 2 more that are being reported that are going to be filed, that would bring the total to 26. Now, what I did take from that is that Mike Vrabel feels better about the progress that Des Fitzpatrick specifically is making. And again, it's almost, I don't know if you guys do this the same way that I do, but I almost forget about Des Fitzpatrick and Racey McMath and what their impact would be as far as their seasons are concerned, as far as this season is concerned, because they had such a negligible effect last year. But we'll certainly hear from the starting quarterback and Derrick Henry on that. In fact, Derrick Henry is speaking with the media right now. Let's go ahead and go live to Derrick Henry.
Foot good. Foot is good.
I was going to say, do you feel like you're pre-injury, Derrick Henry, in terms of the foot and so forth?
Yeah, I feel good. I feel real good.
Ryan when he came back, he said that loss to the Bengals, it put him in a dark place to the point where he had to do therapy and things like that. I'm not saying you had to do that, but what did you do to kind of like work through such a disappointing loss, being as though the opportunity you guys had?
Yeah, it definitely was tough. Actually seeing Ryan, I think like back in March, we both had a signing in Alabama. We was talking about it, and he was saying he was in a dark place, and I was like, I felt the same way. Just tough, and we all expected it to do more and play a lot better, and we just wasn't good enough, and they were the better team. But anytime like that, a loss always hurts when you feel like you got everything promised, everything in front of you, and you just fall short. So it was tough, but definitely fueled me in the off season. I sound like a broken record because we keep doing the same thing, but all you can do is let it fuel you and get ready for the next one.
A day on average, you figure you're in the gym working out or lifting or whatever?
Yeah, a lot. I probably get up probably about 7:30 with my daughter, let my girl go work out, and then I'll go work out probably like at 10:30, and then I come back, eat lunch, and I go back and work out at 4, and then do it all over again each day.
Where you say, maybe not today, maybe I'll take it easy today, or does that ever happen?
I give myself a Sunday off, take my daughter, we go out to eat sometimes, but usually just Monday through Sunday, and take days off if I have to go travel or do something business-wise.
Who pushes you on the days when you're maybe not feeling it, or is it all just kind of internal?
Yeah, so I just look at my daughter and knowing I gotta go get it, and I got a little one to feed, and just staying motivated, staying hungry, and just never being complacent.
Derrick, have you always worked this hard, or did there come a point where you understood that I need to embrace this working out stuff away from actually being on the field to be the best I can be?
I think that's always been me. And since a kid, if I'm sitting around the house, do push-ups, sit-ups, or go run with my cousin when he was in high school, just because I wanted to work out. I just love working out. I love being fit. Love staying in shape. I love the game. So I feel like I'm sitting around, I'm not doing better. Somebody outworking me. So that's always the mindset I always had.
Some people see having football taken away with the injury last year. Did it change your mindset or your approach at all in coming back and wanting to do more?
Yeah, anything, something like that, like traumatic happens, it definitely changes you, and you appreciate the game more. Of course, I miss my teammates, having that team camaraderie, and just being away, with a bone, you gotta let it heal on its own. So it takes time and things like that, and you just want to make sure you taking care of your body, doing everything possible. So when the time comes again, you prepare and you're ready.
Derrick, there was a report that the Titans would be open to working on a new contract with you. Would you be excited about that? How would you feel about the idea of working on a new contract with the Titans?
It's always good to get a promotion at your job. When you think so, you get a promotion. That's always good. But yeah, man, I'm just trying to work through that. I'm currently still on a contract, and if that's what the future holds, then yeah, that'd be great.
Derrick, now there's videos out there where you can get questions. The decision with the hair.
That's been a question with everybody. I wore it down out of the ponytail. Everybody was going crazy, and I don't know. I might switch it up this year. Never know. Stay tuned.
Any reason?
Huh?
Any reason behind it?
No, not really. I just want to switch it up. I've had it in that little, whatever anybody calls it, for a while now. So just want to switch it up.
What's the best feedback you've ever gotten from one of your IG videos, from whether it's a fan or anyone?
People just. I get so many questions. Like I said last year, kids just asking me about workouts, asking what can they do to do better, and I just try to put it out there so they can see what I'm doing, and try to motivate them, and they can learn something from it.
What's your initial impression, I guess, of Hassan Haskins, and what's it like for you when a young guy comes in? You spend a lot of time with them, answer any questions they might have, or how's that relationship go?
Yeah, I was excited when we got him. Hassan's a beast. I actually got to catch his game against Ohio State where he went off, and seeing him in person, he's a big dude. He's a solid dude, and just seeing him out there, I can tell him everything is coming natural to him. I just told him don't try to get too overwhelmed, just take it day by day.
Derrick, why did decision to train on your own as opposed to doing the team stuff here during the voluntary portion?
Well, in 2020, whenever COVID hit, we had to train by ourselves, and I really enjoyed that. I got to go work out when I wanted to, whether it was twice a day or 3 times a day or twice a day and go to the field. And then last year I did the same thing. So I just felt like if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and continue to do those things. I was communicating with the coaches, and they knew what was going on, and I talked to them every now and then, so everything was good.
I know you wouldn't want to make an excuse at all for the playoff game, but obviously you had like 4 days out here on the field to come back in. Do you feel like your old self or like a different running back now coming back than you did in that short period of time?
Oh yeah, definitely. I have time away. I've been training like crazy and doing everything I can to get my body right, and I just been working. And through that time, I was off for like 9 to 10 weeks, and just coming back, I felt good, but I didn't play well enough, and there's no excuse. I got to be better, and I should have been better, but yeah, I feel good now.
When you look at what you were able to do the season before the injury and even leading up to the injury, like, it's safe to kind of call you unstoppable. Have you kind of looked at that injury like as a challenge to show yourself that you could get back to where you were and prove to people who are doubting you? You look at that as a challenge.
Yeah, I get motivated by anything. Something can motivate me, you wouldn't even know it. So that definitely motivated me. And the doubters, whatever they want to be, I'm definitely motivated. I'm ready to go. So we're gonna see.
You're not a preseason game guy. Do you foresee any need to get any preseason action coming off of all of your stuff, or you think it'd be the same deal and you'd be an opening day guy?
Yeah, I talked to head coach Paul. He was out here about an hour with y'all. I'm sure he'll let y'all know if anything changes.
Thanks, Derrick. Appreciate it.
All right.
That's Derrick Henry. Ryan Tannehill's next.
It is 12:05. Good afternoon. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Titans have left the field for the first day of mandatory minicamp at St. Thomas Sports Park. Attendance is good. Derrick Henry was out there today. Jeffrey Simmons is at the facility, though he did not practice, and neither did rookie first-round wide receiver Treylon Burks. Mike Vrabel, when asked about those two players, just the one word: unavailable. Quarterback Ryan Tannehill set to meet with the media here in just a few moments. Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson spoke to the media today as the Browns are undergoing mandatory minicamp, continuing to deny all allegations. There are currently well over 20 lawsuits against Deshaun Watson for sexual assault. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right, hour number 3. Welcome in to 104.5 The Zone. A lot of moving parts today. Derrick Henry, Mike Vrabel already met with the media, or at least that's what we carried for you. Harold Landry also just concluded his press conference. Still up there, Lucas?
No, he got about 3 to 4 minutes in.
Oh, yeah, Harold doesn't like talking to us.
Oh, when they let him go, he said, "Oh, that's it, say less."
Hey,
he was
nobody across 4 years has said less than Harold Honor Landry. God love him. Anyway, Ryan Tannehill going to meet with the media here in just a little bit. We'll carry that live for you as well. You want to tell people what you told me during the... Oh, by the way, 615-737-1045 is the number. That number is going to help you win Braves tickets here in about 15 minutes. So keep listening to for me to tell you how you guys can do that. But... you want to tell people what you told me during the break about Deshaun Watson, who has also just concluded his media availability, his first media availability since March the 25th?
Yeah, I lost the quote that was in front of me, but he essentially said, remember in his introductory press conference with Cleveland, he said he has no regrets about this entire situation. What he regrets about his comments about having no regrets is how people have run with his comments about having no regrets. So he regrets what has happened with the comment about having no regrets, but he maintains that he does have no regrets.
No regrets, but all the regrets. It's such a cluster. Now, speaking of press conference stuff, here's what I'll say, okay, about the Derrick Henry press conference. I have asked myself many, many, many bad press conference questions, okay? I am guilty of having done the same thing that I think we just witnessed during the Derrick Henry press conference. I respect and love all of my colleagues who are out there in the heat asking Derrick Henry about his new hairstyle. I also do not care about how Derrick Henry plans to wear his hair ahead of the season. You're looking for anything, right? Local TV has different interests. The writers have different interests. The talk show hosts, like myself, even though I'm kind of a hybrid at this point anymore, everybody's got a different angle that they're working, all right? So maybe there was some logic or reason that I failed to see. But nobody's talked to Derrick since the Bengals game. And that's, like, outside of the foot, I don't need to talk to Derrick Henry for 20 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to waste Derrick's time. I'm not looking to waste my time. And I don't think if you don't have a good question to ask, and again, this is criticism that I would give to myself as well. I have been guilty. I have been an offender. This is not me attacking my friends who are at this press conference. I'm simply saying it is a frustration for me that I think that there is a degree of just wanting to hear your own voice with some of these questions. And the idea that it takes us 8 or 9 questions in to talk about conditioning, preseason games. Do you need to test it? Live reps. How are you responding? What is your workout regimen like? I understand that the workout questions frustrate people, but they do matter because he physically looks bigger. It's impossible for Derrick Henry to look bigger, you might say. But no, I was out there. I saw him today. He looks bigger. Those are all things that matter. When we talk to Kevin Byard about why he's lost weight and why he has intended to lose weight, whether you get frustrated with workout questions or not, whether you find them to be things that matter to you in the long term, they matter to the players. Jeffrey Simmons intends to play at a lighter weight this year. He feels that it will help him from a technical standpoint. Derrick Henry looks to be heavier. Kevin Byard decided that he needed to be lighter because he's getting older and he's starting to hurt after running after tight ends for the better part of 7 seasons. So, like, the workout questions I'm fine with. But when we start to stray into things that we know have no real consequence for the athlete or for anybody who's involved there, like the hairstyle thing, all right, it's one thing. And I should let it go because it's not that big a deal in the grander scheme. But at some point, I don't know how to make the press conferences better. I don't think there's any way for me to do that. I don't think I'm capable of doing that single-handedly other than to complain from afar at how I did not think that was the best use of anybody's time today regarding Derrick Henry. But we did find out a couple of things about what his workout regimen has been, why he chooses to train separately during the voluntary portion before coming out or before coming back for the mandatory stuff, and how he feels about the contract situation. I think that there's a lot of different things to parse there. And I think the contract thing is where I'd like to start first before we hear from Ryan Tannehill. He's still not up there? Well, what do you go take a shower first? That's new. I bet people are pissed. That makes me happy. Not people listening to the radio show, but people sitting out there waiting for Tannehill to get on with their day. But I do think that the contract thing is interesting. You know, he didn't acknowledge that he had, you know, that there had been any kind of contract discussions, extension talk or otherwise, in between. But he said, yeah, wouldn't you want a promotion at your job? And so Derrick would like to, ideally, stay with the franchise long term. Anyway, we'll hear from Ryan Tannehill coming up next. We can get into more of the Derrick Henry conversation. Your phone calls are welcome as well. I'm Buck Reising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
The Buck Reising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Ryan Tannehill's at the podium. He's excited to have Derrick Henry back. I'm sure you're excited to hear from him. So let's go to St. Thomas Sports Park now.
Interesting, and maybe he'll have an answer for you on how they come up with it.
You watch the videos, Ryan, and you say, geez, I better get in the gym, like right now. I mean, do you players ever talk about that? Like, geez, if Derrick's doing that, I should probably jump in there too.
Well, I'm doing my own thing, so I don't really need, Derrick to motivate me. I'm getting myself ready to go each and every day, making sure I take advantage of the opportunity I got. It may look a little different, a little less impressive, but yeah, no doubt I'm doing everything I can to get myself ready.
Traylon hadn't been out here, I'm sure, as much as he would have liked, I guess, over the course of the last couple of weeks. Have you still been able to work with him, talk with him, do some things where when training camp starts, you can feel like you can hit the ground running?
Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations, as we're watching the tape, talking through the reps that other guys had and communicating it, just making sure, he's hearing it, what I'm looking for. I'm kind of hearing what he's thinking, and obviously the best thing is to have him out there on the field, working with us, but that's not the case. So you got to make do with what you got and make the best out of what you have. So we're communicating, and then whenever time comes for him to be out there running with us, then we'll take advantage of those reps.
How much do you usually gather up the guys during the dead period before training camp to throw a little bit and get a little refresher? Is that even more important this year because you've got so many new faces?
I mean, it's always an opportunity. I think that anytime you get a chance to get together and learn each other and spend some time together, get those reps in the bank, it helps. I feel like this spring we've got a ton of great reps and against the defense, right? So it's not just routes on air, it's against the defense, against a defender, and that changes a lot of things, right? I mean, obviously routes on air is the start of it, but being able to run those routes against the defense and seeing how guys come out with contact, how they are able to shake defenders on different types of routes, in-breakers, out-breakers, all that stuff. So these reps are the most important in my opinion, and just learning guys, but obviously the routes on air help.
Period you ran down at the far end with the continental routes, how much from the start of that 10 minutes or 12 minutes to the end can you, I don't want to say master something, but what's the gain from the start to the end on that very specific thing?
Yeah, I mean, we're just installing. So, it's the first time we're running through those things. Got to work out the kinks, and guys are talking, communicating all the different looks and how we're coming out of it, where the ball should be. So there's definitely a learning curve for everybody. And then as you go and the reps start to stack, guys should be watching the guys in front of them, learning from the rep in front, and becoming more familiar with all the different looks the more reps we get.
What have you kind of seen from Chigakonkwo kind of coming along here? Threw a couple nice balls to him, a couple touchdowns in the 7-on-7 period, so just how he's come along and your connection and chemistry with him on the field. Yeah,
Chick's done a great job for us. Obviously, he's a fun guy to be around. He's out here, he's working hard just like everybody else, but made some big strides this spring. I'm proud of him, proud of the way he's come in, learned what to do, and we'll continue to push him on that. And but just physically, to see his size, his strength, his speed, how he's able to play through contact, he definitely gives us another weapon.
Last season, you had a revolving door at receiver, tight end throughout training camp, throughout the season, led to probably your worst season as a Titan. Does that concern you with Traylon's injury and the changeover at wide receiver that it hasn't been completely consistent as who you'll probably throw to in the games?
I'm not concerned. You have to go out there and make the plays regardless of what's going on. So I'm proud of the guys who have been out there and the progress we've made. Some guys were here last year, but we've had a lot of good reps, and I think we've gotten better, even the guys that were here last year. So excited for the progress we've made and look forward to carrying it in training camp.
You get kind of an idea of what he said that he was really excited about getting the opportunity to work on the field and everything with you. How has he attacked that, or how have you guys together attacked that process, getting that chemistry, that trust?
Yeah, we're still learning each other. It's been a lot of fun for me getting to know him personally off the field, and then getting to know him as a player. So just reading his body language, see how he comes in and out of things. Had a rep today that was a great learning rep for me, and how he comes out. I think how I read it with a lot of guys, my timing wasn't the same with him. So just those little things that you probably don't notice from the outside, but every rep that I get, and I can file that away and learn from it. And he's got such a savvy, feel for running routes, his route craft, and how he's able to use his size, use his strength and quickness at the top of routes to get open. So all that just takes a little bit of time. Got to see it a few times, whether it's on tape or in person, and that way we're on the same page and I can anticipate where he's going to be at.
When he comes to correct something, you'll already know what he's talking about. Praised your self-awareness. How important is something like that to you?
Well, I guess it's a good thing to be self-aware. I try to learn from every rep, good or bad. And a lot of times, right after it, I can, take a step back and evaluate it, or try to evaluate it for what it is, as opposed to what just happened. So I definitely think it helps. And then when you go back and you watch the tape, you're able to confirm it, maybe cement it in. But we're able to kind of take a step back on the field. You can learn from it within the practice, right? Or on game day within a game, so you can make the correction there as opposed to having to, get to the coach or get back to the film room and watch it on tape.
What do you do between the time you walk out of here tomorrow or Thursday until training camp starts to try to gather guys to throw, and maybe do you stress to others show up ready to go when camp starts?
Yeah, no doubt. It's an important time of year. Obviously this is important, but if you sit on your butt for the next 5 weeks and come into camp out of shape, then that's going to set us back. So, it's going to be important for guys to take some time away, prepare yourself mentally for a long grind of a season. But at the same time, you got to get ready to go. Make sure you come in at your strongest, your most conditioned, ready to run. It's going to be hot. It's going to be long practices, but we have to take advantage of the days we have. So if we can come in with a full head of steam and be in shape, be in condition, and ready to go, it's definitely going to help us.
What impressions have you got so far of Kyle Phillips, Ryan?
Kyle's definitely a great router. He's got some quickness, some agility. Getting to learn his craft, as he learns our offense and kind of see where he fits in. But definitely, he's flashed for me a few times and seen some good things. So, just definitely keep the pressure on him as he learns what we're doing. And I think if he does that, he'll continue to make plays.
How
That
much
wide
pressure
receiver
do you feel,
group,
given the regular season success that you've had with the team and the playoff disappointments going into this year, how much pressure do you feel on yourself?
Just go out and lead the team and win games. I mean, that's ultimately what my job is to go play quarterback, which includes a lot of different things, but, leading the team and finding a way to win each and every Sunday.
With that wide receiver group, do you kind of keep score yourself a little bit and think, wow, this guy's had a couple good days, maybe he's going to get an opportunity this fall, or do you kind of have your own, I like this guy right now?
You definitely notice who's making plays, right? I mean, just like anything, like in the season, a guy's hot, he's making plays, he's getting open, you're going to continue to look in that direction. I'm not counting numbers or anything like that, but, if guy flashes and makes a one-on-one play for me, then that gives me a lot of confidence and a lot of trust as a cue that, hey, it's tight coverage. He made a play last time, I'll give him another shot. And the more that the guy stacks plays and continues to make that play, just builds that confidence, and that, even if it's tight coverage, you can let it fly.
Maybe along those lines, Ryan, you worked with a lot of rookie receivers over your career. When they're not out here on the field, how far behind are they?
It definitely hurts, right? Not to be out there, but I think everyone in the building is trying to do their best to prepare, even the guys that aren't out there, mentally, or make sure that we're staying up on the scripts and the walkthroughs and the jog-throughs and learning from the full-speed reps on tape. That's all you can do at this point is to try to learn each and every way you can. And then when the time comes, you're able to step on the grass and it's time to go. Thank you.
That's Titans quarterback Ryan Tannehill meeting with the media. Lucas, do we actually have to work now? It's just 3 press conferences in one show. That's a record.
Yep. Put your legs down. Sit up. Time to work.
Do you feel good about what we just did there? I mean, it's relevant, but I feel like we've just mailed in like an hour and a half of our workday, and our workday's only 3 hours long.
You're going to have media stuff tomorrow, too.
Oh, that's right. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff to be taken from that. And I think that the most critical thing is what I come back to earlier when I was talking about Treylon Burks, right? The missed reps is the thing that concerns me the most as far as longevity is concerned. If you are looking for any reason to have trepidation around the Treylon Burks, asthma, lack of practice availability, all these different things, if you're looking for one thing to say, okay, I legitimately am worried about this, it would be the fact that he's not out there repping it out with the quarterback. Because that's the whole reason, that's the only reason that I can find that would be legitimate cause for concern. Obviously, you worry about his health and is the asthma manageable and all these different things, right? But it's the idea that we know that the best thing that Ryan Tannehill did or has done throughout the course of his career as a Tennessee Titan, best thing that he's done was his connection with A.J. Brown. Never in question, never in doubt. They had those reps banked. A.J. missed time. Tannehill missed time during training camp because of COVID. Was never an issue. It was crisp as soon as one or the other returned to the lineup. And that's the thing that was kind of the saving grace of your passing offense, especially last year. Now, A.J. still missed 4 games and didn't finish all 13 that he played in. But that is the thing that you are most looking to replicate. That could well be Austin Hooper this year. It could be Kyle Phillips. Robert Woods could fill that role. But for Treylon Burks, and the thing that kind of catches me up about his lack of availability, it is those reps that he will be missing and that are so critical because you only have so much practice time. You only have so much time with the vets. We have one more day of this before things get shut down for 6 weeks as far as the NFL is concerned. Now, selfishly, I'm glad for that because that means I have a ton of vacation coming up, and that's when I choose to take my vacation. But for the purposes of the Titans and their offense, you would prefer to not have to basically start that anew come training camp, because then the expectations, the significance of it is obviously ramped up because you have so much less time to get this thing ready to go before week 1 against the New York Giants. Now, I don't think there's anything necessarily stopping Ryan Tannehill and Treylon Burks from connecting at some point over the course of the next 6 weeks when the NFL will take its summer vacation to try and work on things together. But again, this organized, structured portion of the offseason that the veterans get to participate with the rookies in, that is the only reason why I have any concern about the Treylon Burks thing. And again, Mike Vrabel's not going to tell you one way or the other. He's going to tell you unavailable, and he's going to stiff-arm you verbally harder than Derrick Henry ever stiff-armed anybody physically. Although that's a pretty close contest. 615-737-1045. You can react to some of this stuff if you would like to. Tyler B. Also, you can participate via the Zone TV chat, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch. Tyler B. says, didn't Vrabel say the rookies will stay in town and work on conditioning and such? Yes, he did say that. Now, they're not required to. It's not like it's a mandate or something like that, in the same way that this stuff is voluntary. Now, obviously, if you're a rookie, it is strongly suggested that you stay for the portions of the offseason that will be available for the rookies to continue to work in conditioning. But yes, that is something that he said. So they will have that opportunity, but that has precious little to do with my contention about Tannehill specifically and Treylon Burks. Because he's any quarterback, right? I mean, I think you kind of look at this. Maybe we'll do this at some point during the offseason, Lucas, where we kind of look at like a quarterback scale, right? And because Andy Dalton, I think, was this for the longest time, where he's right on the fence of competent NFL starter versus guy who you could probably upgrade from, right? For the longest, when Dalton was the Bengals quarterback, that was kind of the scale that you looked at for quarterback competency versus, all right, we're trending towards backup here. I don't know if Tannehill's on that or if Tannehill's now like the median, because I feel some people would make that contention. I'm kind of looking at Tua as a quarterback who would probably be on that borderline, but still a lot that we don't know. He's only heading into year 3, right?
That's right.
This is only year 3 of Tua? God, that makes me feel old. Anyway. So maybe we do this during the offseason, but I do think that Ryan Tannehill and many quarterbacks are dependent upon the chemistry that they have, the relationships that they build for their comfort level to be as close to proficient as humanly possible. And I think that's the kind of thing that stands out to me about the Tannehill experience last year, is that he had precious little time to develop chemistry with all variety of weapons not named AJ. And you saw how much better it looked when AJ was on the field versus when it was Des Fitzpatrick being forced into action. Or, all right, Nick Westbrook-Akina is going to go from your 4 to your 2 in the span of 2 weeks, and you got to figure out how to make that work. Again, there are options for Tannehill to be able to develop that chemistry with that he's already working with. Treylon Burks is not going to be the sole driver of the offense, the way that it felt that A.J. Brown was the sole driver of the passing game for the Titans in recent memory. They have tried to diversify their skill position portfolio, right? They've tried to get back to basics from what Matt LaFleur and Arthur Smith ran as Titans offensive coordinators as the most recent indicator of success. We're going to get into some numbers tomorrow, probably. Going to get into some numbers tomorrow in all likelihood on something that Todd Downing said. I wrote about this, I think, a week or two ago about the tight end personnel groupings and how much Todd Downing got away from that last year that I think affected their offense very much. But we'll have time to do that later in the week. And obviously, we've got a bunch of good guests for you as well. Titans availability will happen in the middle of the show tomorrow, too, so you can look forward to that. But right now, I have something for you to look forward to. It's Dad's Week on 104.5 The Zone, where all week long, we are giving you chances to win tickets to events and concerts for you to take Dad to this summer in honor of Father's Day. So right now, if you are caller number 5, you can get Dad a pair of tickets to see the Atlanta Braves this season. Call 615-737-1045. It's one of Major League Baseball's hottest team, the Braves. So call that number. Be caller number 5. Lucas will give you a pair of tickets to see the Braves in the near future. As far as the rest of what I was able to learn today is concerned, there's probably 3 takeaways that I had. And we'll get into more detail on that tomorrow, probably, but just kind of wrapping up today's day of work. Chig Okonkwo and Kyle Phillips are the 2 most intriguing rookies to me as far as contributions, as far as what I've seen from them so far already on the field, on the practice fields, and as far as what their roles are within a Titans offense that has lacked, one, versatile tight ends as recently as last season, and a designated slot receiver since the one good year that they got out of Adam Humphries before, of course, I can't remember which Bengals defender concussed him at Cincinnati, and there was an egregious no call on the play. It was a safety that came across and just absolutely snapped Adam Humphries' neck back. But still, those 2 are guys that I look for to develop roles and are seeing in real time develop roles that you feel pretty good about as far as the offense is concerned. Now, looking elsewhere around the roster, the Malik Willis thing is pretty interesting. And I saw a tweet that I almost hesitate to give more life to because it is so mind-bogglingly dumb to me. But I feel that it needs to be said because I think it's going to propagate some stuff among Titans fans unnecessarily. So this comes from it's an account called Tic Tac Titans on Twitter, and it says very very loudly, Logan Woodside is stealing reps from Malik Willis. At least Malik's running ability would give the Titans a shot to win a few games if Tannehill is out a few quarters or weeks. Every rep Woodside takes delays Malik's full potential every preseason snap. And if they keep 3 quarterbacks, ... I'm going to tell you why that's the dumbest thing. Wow, damn. We do the dumbest thing in sports this week.
One day shy.
I got excited.
Save it.
Should I save it for tomorrow? Do you think?
I think it's worth it.
It's almost so dumb that I have to get it off my chest now. Anyway, we'll do the polls next. Welcome back. Now, you know Father's Day is coming up. 104.5 The Zone has teamed up with that gift for that sports fanatic in your life. That legendary play features one-of-a-kind prints from legendary plays by all of your favorite teams and players. Listen to 104.5 The Zone for your chance to win, Dad, a one-of-a-kind print from that legendary play. You can see the collection at thatlegendaryplay.com. And between now and Father's Day, buy one and get one selected print at 25% off with code LegendaryDad. For more info, visit 1045thezone.com. That's our buddy Joey Kent's company, right?
That's right. What play would you choose for Mr. Reising?
Well, Rick doesn't give a damn about sports. So, no.
Okay, if it was a gift for you, what would you want?
Oh, probably the Watford shot because I don't remember it.
Nice reminder.
I blacked out drunk. It's freshman year of college, behind the basket in the banana suit, and I don't remember the Watford for the win shot. So, yeah, I'd love that one. I was there for that, but a nice reminder of what could have been a joyous occasion in my life, other than, one of the worst hangovers I have ever experienced in the history of man. So, yeah, thatlegendaryplay.com. What do you get your pops for Father's Day?
Well, he's going to be out of the country for like another month, so
nice.
I've got time.
Oh, yes. I did get him an Omaha Steaks package. Promo code The Zone, by the way, if you haven't done that. That's a really good deal that Omaha Steaks has for you. But outside of the giant package of meat, I don't know what else. I mean, I guess that's all he really needs. He likes to grill. And he already has everything. He's 70-something, and he's got a boat that he hangs out on now that he's retired. He keeps it down at Barkley Lake. Just cruises around. He doesn't need anything else. I don't know. That Father's Day is always tough. Anyway, before we get out of here, we should have put it on a poll during the commercial break, Lucas, just to see what the results would have been. But we have had some people write in about how I should handle this tweet that I find to be hugely stupid before we wrap up and do the polls. So, this tweet that I mentioned comes to us from an account. Now, it's got a blue check mark next to it, which does not always necessitate credibility. And I must admit that I'm not familiar with the account, but the account's called Tic Tac Titans. Again, it writes, Logan Woodside is stealing reps from Malik Willis. At least Malik's running ability would give the Titans a shot to win a game if Tannehill is out a few quarters/weeks. Every rep that Logan Woodside takes delays Malik's full potential every preseason snap. And if they keep 3 QBs, it writes, ... The drama. All right, this is stupid for a variety of reasons, and let me tell you the ways before we get to the polls. 1, Logan Woodside is not stealing reps from anybody. Logan Woodside has earned those reps. The coaching staff trusts Logan Woodside to operate, to know the playbook, and to go through the motions of running the offense. 2, it is reps with whom? They got 90 dudes out there, basically play you and me, Lucas, me, and who the hell who's that in the picture?
That's Hunk back here.
Oh, hi, Hunk. Who's this person? Anytime there's somebody in here. Anyway, Hunk at tight end, Lucas and I at wide receiver. I don't know why I made Hunk a tight end. I should probably be based on the size of tight end.
Hunk could be a tight end.
Yeah, I don't know it doesn't matter. Anyway, so right now he's getting reps with a bunch of dudes who aren't going to be on the team. So why? Both of them are, okay? They're doing a lot of these drills at the same time, okay? And by the way, the starting quarterback is not getting reps with the first-round pick. So who do you want Who do you want Malik Willis to take reps with? The starters? You want him to take the Robert Woods reps away from Ryan Tannehill, you idiot? Are you that thick in the skull? Like, these are the kind of things. And let me say this, all right? I do not know this person. I harbor no ill will towards this person, this makes my chest tight for how little this person understands about the day-to-day operations of something like mandatory minicamp at something like this, and the situation for Malik Willis, which is that they literally need to build this guy from the ground up. All right? Are we good? Can I find another dumb thing to do in sports tomorrow for Wednesday?
Yep, you covered it.
All right, polls.
Zoinks, like, hey, Scoop, stop the count.
Yeah.
The polls have closed. The votes are in. It's time for a poll update, Scoop. A roll update. Yeah. Zoink, Scoop. Here's Buck Reising Show daily correspondent Lucas Panzica. Lucas Panzica? Yeah.
It's hard for me to be mad about anything when I have Rhett Bryan doing the Scooby-Doo laugh in my ear. It's tough.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They will deliver it to you when it gets manufactured. Who are the winners of the weekend? Dawson says winners, everyone that hates Tennessee athletics. Losers, Tennessee, and the greatest fan base in the world. Hashtag GBO, hashtag VFL.
I had no winners this weekend, only losers. The fake Klay Thompson for posting about the fact that he snuck past Warrior security like an idiot on the internet. And J-Lo for complaining that she would not dare share the stage of Super Bowl 50 halftime with Shakira. She thought she deserved it unto herself. You can watch that in her new Netflix documentary.
We should have made a poll, J-Lo or Shakira. I'm going Shakira every time.
Perpetually. Both, I mean, from a musical standpoint, I don't think it's close.
From a musical standpoint, yeah.
Okay.
What message does it send that Derrick Henry is present for mandatory minicamp? David says that he's about to beat Eric Dickerson's season rushing record.
Well, I don't know about all that. I think he's just here. I saw one. Our friend Haley Murphy made me laugh because she said that that he understands the definition of mandatory, which does make sense. But that's not how all of the NFL works nowadays.
Owen says because he's trying to win a Super Bowl. Johnny says it sends the message that he is a leader.
Okay, so Derrick Henry not showing up for voluntary stuff means that he's not trying to win a Super Bowl. This stuff is so arbitrary to me. Honestly, that's my fault. I hate that poll.
What is the biggest Titans development to come out of the offseason? Ethan says, how could it possibly be anything other than the A.J. Brown trade? Nothing else has been even close to as big of a deal. Signing Bobby Trees and drafting Willis, the only other things that have been noteworthy.
I don't know. If they end up in some kind of lawsuit situation because of that Rooney Rule stuff from Mike Mularkey, that has much bigger implications. Maybe we do that later in the week because I know we didn't have time for it today.
What was the biggest story of the college football offseason? Conference realignment, SEC schedule changes or potential schedule changes, Jimbo versus Saban, or NIL/the transfer portal? Just in general, 45% go with NIL and the transfer portal. 33% say it's the feud between Jimbo and Saban. 13% conference realignment, and only 9% SEC schedule changes.
Well, I think it's just so far ahead. It's 2025, right? That's
not necessarily. I mean, the timeline, you would think playoff expansion needs to happen
Save it for later
first.
in the week. Save it. Don't do the show is over. Don't do more show.
Those are the polls.
All right, excellent. That's the show. We'll do both of those things Wednesday because we got Butch Spearden of the Nashville Visitors and Convention Corp going to be on the day before we find out whether Nashville is going to be one of the 16 host cities for the 2026 World Cup. That's exciting stuff. And more Titans. In the meantime, Blaine and Mickey got you next.